Hey everybody, welcome back to Freedom Garage. We have another special vehicle to show you. This is a 2017 Maserati Ghibli SQ4. This is an all-wheel drive. This has a special engine that was designed by Maserati but built by Ferrari. It is a twin-turbo V6 3-liter that puts out 404 horsepower and 406 foot-pounds of torque. This is Maserati's 5-seater luxury performance sedan. And I have never driven a Maserati until today, and you hear a lot of things pro and con. People either love Maserati or hate it. Sorry folks, it just started pouring here. You can see the Italian design carries throughout, whether it's the 19-inch rims, the beautiful red calipers, the side vents from Maserati. The car there's no mistaking that it's a Maserati. You got the beautiful trident that is on the C-pillar as well as in the front grille. The car is definitely a head turner. When you're in traffic, people, they recognize that you're driving a Maserati, and that's kind of the draw of the vehicle. Now, as I mentioned, the engine in the Maserati Ghibli, designed by Maserati, but it is built by Ferrari. It's a twin-turbo V6. Again, it puts out 404 horsepower and 406 foot-pounds of torque. Now, as you can see, the interior here, it's all black leather, and it's done well. The fit and finish here is fantastic. It's a very comfortable front seat. Now, let's jump in it, and we'll go over the front passenger compartment real quick. First thing I'm going to start out with are the door panels and the controls. Fiat owns Maserati as well as Chrysler, and you'll definitely see some bleed over. This is out of a Dodge, like a Dart. These are not $75,000, $80,000 controls in my opinion, but you know, it's not uncommon to see bleed over from one brand sister company to another. And the same is carried through here on the interior. You have the light switch that is out of like my Dodge Durango, the start button that is out of basically a Dodge 2 or a Chrysler, as is the turn signal stock that's kind of out of a Jeep. There's a lot of things here that if I were purchasing a vehicle for 80 grand, I would probably want to see differently. Now, moving to the rear, not a lot of room back there. In fact, I'm going to jump on the other side. I am 6'1", and if somebody wants to sit in the front seat and be comfortable, I can't be. And let alone fit 3 people here shoulder to shoulder. Just not going to happen, at least comfortably. One good thing about this Maserati Ghibli is there's a ton of storage space in the trunk. You can fit pretty much anything, your day's groceries and then some. And you can see underneath you have a spare as well as a jack and some tools. One more thing in the rear seat, you do get vents for the rear passengers, and that's about it. You get a map cargo net on each side, and that's it. Pretty low frills, but the stitching, the seating is very, very quality, very, very comfortable, and you can see the controls here. You got the driver's door, little pocket down there. You got the controls here. Decent dash. You got your cruise control controls on the left. You have your toggle that will work the middle screen, the main menu, as well as your voice commands and telephone. On the back side, you have your audio controls for your radio and whatnot, and you can see the gauges here. To the right, you have the touch screen. Now, if you drive a Dodge or a Chrysler, you should immediately recognize this. This is Uconnect, right out of the Chrysler and Dodge series. The only difference between this and my Dodge Durango is the Durango's background is red and this is blue. I do like the touch of the actual clock on the top of the dash. And there's your HVAC controls underneath. The red is for the heat, blue is for cold, for AC, and I apologize, it's starting to rain. Underneath that, you do have the auxiliary input. You have a USB as well as an SD card for your radio. There's also a tray in which you can put your phone. I use an iPhone 13 Pro Max, fit there no problem. And you can close that up and have it out of the way. All right, guys and gals, I apologize. It started, the heavens opened up, it's pouring outside, so the rest will be here in the safety of my garage. The shifter. I have been frustrated with this shifter. There are times when it just doesn't seem to want to shift. For instance, if I go to park where I am now, and then go down to, see, that should have been drive, but it actually went to neutral. If I go back, park, here's drive. If I want to go to reverse, and then back to drive. There are times when it doesn't do what you think. You have to be very deliberate in your shifts, especially if you're using like the manual mode, and we'll get to that in a second here. But on your controls, there is a traction control button to turn it off. This is to go into the manual transmission mode, which I highly recommend. ICE is increased control and efficiency mode that basically will get the best gas mileage out of this vehicle. And in using the mode on and off, it makes a dramatic difference in the mile per gallon rating or the fuel efficiency rating that's displayed on the main menu. Sport mode, which makes a difference not only in the acceleration and the timing, but also in the exhaust as well. You can hear the baffles open up. But there's definitely a difference. Here's in normal mode versus sport mode. And it's much more peppy in sport mode. Also down here you have your electronic parking brake. Tells you it's engaged on the dash. As well as this volume knob. The top is a volume knob, and the bottom will control your Uconnect screen should you not want to use the touch screen. Of course, you have two cup holders and a rarity in vehicles, a cigarette lighter. Glove box is just manual. I'm not going to expose this gentleman's information, but it's pretty straightforward, and I like the styling. I like the lines of the dash. I like the stitching in the leather, and I think the touch of the clock is pretty cool. That's what they used to do in a lot of old vehicles. Above us we have the remote trunk as well as the sunroof controls. You can turn on and off the parking sensors. There's also home link above as well as your dome lights. Here's your view from the rear view mirror. And let's take it out for a ride. So one thing noticeable right away in driving this so far is that this version of the Ghibli, for me, is much more fun driving it in manual mode and in sport mode, of course. I find it has much more pep because obviously I can control the shift rate. Sounds a lot better too. Also, hopefully it translates to the audio. You can hear it shifting. It's not a fast shifting vehicle. It's definitely nowhere near the speeds of a dual clutch. You can hear it kind of lagging behind. But still, for a twin turbo V6 with 404 horsepower, it moves. It's fun to drive. As far as handling, it handles fantastic. I have no complaints on the handling. Everything is tight, and it's a sporty little vehicle, thus being a Maserati. Braking, it's good, solid. There's no feeling of being under braked like some other vehicles I might have reviewed recently that are more than twice the cost of this pretty much. So the pros, yes, the Ghibli is very fun to drive. If you're buying a used vehicle, then they depreciate a lot, let's be honest. So you're going to be able to get one at a much lower cost or value than, say, other vehicles in its class. And if you're into fun vehicles, that's a plus, that's a pro. Now, being a Maserati, being Italian, it's going to have its quirks. And one of the quirks that I'm going to hit the car on is when you pay between $70,000 and $80,000 for a vehicle like the Ghibli is, depending on how you spec it out. It shouldn't have cheap parts inside, but it's fun to drive. I mean, it's sitting in the cockpit here, sitting in the driver's seat, hearing that exhaust note, feeling the peppiness of the vehicle. But don't get that confused, it is still a 6-cylinder. So, if you're getting in this and you're expecting Corvette performance, no. But you do have 404 horsepower, 406 foot-pounds of torque, and it definitely will turn heads, both with its styling, being a Maserati. Everybody loves that trident, and also when they hear you coming or going by. Now for build quality, I have 0 rattles in this vehicle, which is, again, you spend that kind of money, that's what you expect. You don't want to hear rattles and creaks. The leather on the upholstery, the seats, the steering wheel, the dash, it's all well done. The stitching is beautiful. And I mean, even the clock, I mean, it's a throwback to vehicles of old, but the clock in the dash is pretty cool too. Let's do a con on the interior now. As you can see, this is a 5-seater. You're not going to have a lot of people sitting in that back that are comfortable. You remember when I showed you when we were doing the walk around. It's a very, very tight fit back there. Can it get done? Absolutely. But for long rides, you're going to have some pretty cramped up people who are going to want to stretch their legs quite often. So Maserati, again, is either loved or hated by people in the community. It's got a very deep racing heritage and tradition. And personally, as somebody who's never driven one before, even though hearing all of the negativity that's out there about Maserati, I found this a very, very fun vehicle to drive. Again, drive it in manual shift mode and in sport mode, and it makes a ton of difference than if you have it on automatic transmission while using normal exhaust mode and or the ICE mode. Now, ICE mode will save you a lot of fuel because this is not a fuel efficient vehicle, but not many high performance vehicles are. One thing I will say about the vehicle is that it is not a comfortable ride. It's definitely a sport tuned suspension. You feel some of the bumps more than you would in other vehicles in its class, like BMW or some Mercedes, stuff like that. If I had to knock the vehicle, that would definitely be one of the knocks. It's not as soft of a ride as one would think. So I hope you enjoy the 2017 Maserati Ghibli. Sorry that the rain didn't hold off as long as the meteorologist said it would, but we fought through it. Guys and gals, I hope you enjoy Freedom Garage. It's a new channel. It's going to have a lot of new vehicles. Some of them are going to be really exotic coming up here in the future. And if you'd like to be a part of it or help the channel grow, just hit subscribe down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like the video and share it so that more people will see it and will continue to grow. Until we see each other again with the next vehicle, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Take care.